You should have never come back here, Evelyn. Some stories are meant to stay buried. The fire was climbing the walls when she heard those words. Smoke filled her lungs, and beneath the roar, something whispered her name, a voice from a life she didn't remember. This wasn't about surviving the night anymore. It was about uncovering the truth the town had tried to erase. Before we dive in, let me know, what time are you listening to this and where are you? Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. The road ended at a wooden house, gray and tired from too many winters. Evelyn parked, turned off the engine, and sat still. Her hands rested on her belly, feeling the slow movement beneath her palms. The truck smelled faintly of dust. She wasn't sure what felt heavier, the cold or her own hesitation. She climbed out, boots sinking into slush. The realtor had called it a place with potential, but it looked more like a place forgotten. Paint peeled from the door, and a shutter tapped weakly in the wind. Evelyn wasn't afraid of work. She'd spent years fixing what others ruined, jobs, homes herself. Still, the sight of the place pressed on her chest. She turned the key and stepped into air tinged with old wood and ash. The floor groaned. A chair lay on its side. She set her bag down, pulled off her coat, rubbed her arms. The baby kicked. "We'll make this work," she murmured, unsure if she believed it. The town hadn't welcomed her. At the general store, a man had glanced at her license plate and asked, "You sure you want to settle here?" The smile that followed wasn't kind. She'd smiled back anyway and walked out. In the kitchen, she found a hammer, nails, and what looked like a bird's nest in the sink. She started cleaning, wipe, sweep, breathe. The rhythm steadied her. It reminded her of counting hours at her old night shifts. The door creaked again. "You must be the new owner," a man said. He stood by the doorway, tall, dark hair tucked under a cap. "Name's Noah Fielding. I run the hardware store in town." "Heard someone bought the old Ilara place." "Ilara. That's what folks used to call it," he said. "No one's lived here in years. It was cheap." He smiled almost kindly. "I bet." He walked a few steps, and eyes tracing the beams. "You'll need new supports. These floors won't last a winter. I'll manage." "Sure." He set a small toolbox on the table. "Welcome gift. Nothing fancy." "Thank you." "Not many newcomers stay," he said before leaving. The sound of his truck faded. Evelyn went back to work. Each scrape of the broom echoed. The wind dragged along the eaves, low and uneven. By late day, her hands were raw. Behind a stack of boxes, she found a wooden plaque, "The Ilara House." She traced the carved letters. Who was Ilara? Her phone buzzed with a payment reminder. She turned it off. Signal here was useless. She sat on the floor, back to the wall, breathing slowly. "You and me," she whispered to the child. The next morning, she stood in the town hall hallway, rubbing her palms to warm them. Her boots left a thin trail across the tile. A line of locals murmured near the bulletin board, their voices circling the same worries: roads, taxes, weather. When her name was called, she stepped forward with the stack of forms she'd filled out overnight. The clerk barely glanced up. "Form 14B, Evelyn handed it over. The woman flipped through the pages, then nodded toward the back room. "Bring this to the meeting. Private renovations today." Evelyn adjusted her coat and went down the corridor, her steps echoing against the walls. The council chamber buzzed with conversation in the faint hum of a space heater. Folding chairs lined the walls. Faces turned briefly curious but closed off. She found a seat near the back, the folder balanced on her knees. Grant Lyle sat at the front table, leafing through papers like a man checking receipts. When he looked up, the glance was brief but sharp enough to remind her she was an outsider. "Next, the Ilara property," he said. "Applicant Evelyn Merrick." She rose, kept her tone steady. "I'm requesting a permit for roof and plumbing repairs. I'll handle most of it myself." Lyle leaned back. "That house is under review. We've had reports about safety issues. Reports from who no one's been near it." Still, he replied, "No approval until inspection's complete." "When will that be?" "Whenever we get to it." A small laugh came from somewhere behind her. Someone muttered the word outsider. Evelyn gripped the edge of the table. "It's just repairs," she said. "I'm 6 months along and that place barely holds heat." Lyle's expression didn't change. "Then perhaps Maple Hollow isn't the right place for you." The words landed like a slap. She gathered her papers while the next name was called. No one looked her way. Snow fell again as she walked to her truck, head lowered, breath sharp against the cold. Footsteps followed. "Hey," someone called. It was Noah, a paper cup steaming in his hand. Saw you in there. Lyle's worse in winter. They made it sound like I did something wrong. He's been running things since before I was born, Noah said. Doesn't like change, especially not strangers. She took the coffee he offered. Thanks. You heading home? Yeah, plenty left to fix. Need a hand. Not today. He hesitated, then said, if you need tools, come by my shop. Door's usually open. She nodded and he walked off down the street, his boots crunching against the snow. Everyone else kept their distance, cashiers, neighbors, anyone she passed. It was as if she carried something contagious. By the time she reached the truck, her hands were numb. She sat waiting for the heater to wake. The baby moved beneath her coat. She pressed a palm over the rhythm. We're fine, she whispered. The words didn't convince either of them. Halfway home, the engine coughed twice and died. She steered to the shoulder, tried the key again, nothing. No signal, no passing cars. She got out, grabbed her bag, and started walking. The wind cut her face raw. Houses stood sealed, curtains drawn tight. Even the dogs stayed quiet. The town seemed to be listening. At the intersection, a faint light glowed behind the dusty windows of an old auction house, Maple Hollow Estate Sales. She hesitated, then went in. A bell jingled. Rows of furniture crowded the floor, and an older man behind the counter looked up. We're closed, he said, not unkindly. I just need information about a property. The one on Birch Lane, the Alara house. His eyes flickered. That place thought it was condemned. I bought it at auction, trying to fix it. He rubbed his chin. That one belonged to the Merricks. Haven't heard that name in years. Her pulse stuttered. You don't know what happened to them. Depends who you ask, he said. Some say they left after the storm. Others, well, asked the mayor. Thanked him and stepped back into the snow. The streets were empty again. Her footprints vanished as fast as she made them. The door stuck before it gave way. Damp wood greeted her. She dropped her bag, knelt by the stove, coaxed the fire to life until the heat reached her hands. It wasn't fear now, just the dull ache of holding too much together. Later, she made a list patch roof fix, wiring kitchen leak call bank. The handwriting stayed neat, as if order on paper could make the rest behave. The pen paused halfway down the page. She kept hearing the auction man's voice, how he'd said Marek like it meant something. It was the first time in years anyone had said it with memory. She forced her thoughts elsewhere and kept cleaning. The baby nudged as she lifted a box from under the stairs. A board sat slightly raised. She pried it loose and found a wrapped bundle. Layer by layer, paper gave way to a frame, a portrait of a woman near pine trees. The face mirrored her own enough to steal her breath. She touched her chest, unsure which was stronger, the resemblance or the stillness it carried. A knock cut through her thoughts. Noah stood there, toolbox in one hand. You weren't at the store. Figured you might need help with that roof. She stepped aside. He glanced around the clutter. You've been busy, trying to. His gaze caught the painting. Where'd you find that under the floorboards? Know who she is? He crouched, eyes narrowing. People said she was Alara Marek, the woman who lived here before it was abandoned. Her throat tightened. Marek, that's my name too. He hesitated. Strange coincidence. She tried to laugh. Maybe just chance. Maybe, he said, brushing dust from his palms. Careful with old things here. Some carry stories you don't want. Stories don't scare me. They should. They patched tiles near the frame. He worked steadily, asking about Albany and her old job. She answered in pieces, leaving out what hurt. When they finished, he gathered his tools. You've got grit. Most wouldn't last a week here. I don't have anywhere else. He nodded. I'll drop off some lumber tomorrow. After he left, the house seemed to breathe again. She sat by the stove, watching the fire sink to embers. Her fingers drifted to the portrait's edge, the woman's calm eyes fixed on something unseen. Who were you? She whispered. Only the crack of wood replied. The baby shifted, reminding her she wasn't alone. She leaned the painting against the wall, meaning to move it later, but her eyes kept finding it drawn to its quiet question. Wind brushed across the yard. Branches scraped the roof in slow rhythm. She told herself it was only the storm. When she checked the latch, her reflection caught in the glass, her face flickering with the fire's glow. For a heartbeat, another woman seemed to stare back, same eyes, same tilt of the mouth. Then it was gone. She exhaled, turned down the lamp, stretched her hands toward the faint warmth, and sat again. Smoke clung to her hair. She didn't bother washing it out. The clock ticked unevenly, marking hours that didn't matter. Her gaze went to the notebook. She tried to add another task, but the pen stayed still. Words no longer helped. A soft thud drew her attention to the door. Something had slid under the mat, a thin envelope marked only E. Merrick in hurried, uneven letters. No stamp, no return address. She brought it to the table and stared. Part of her wanted to burn it. Another part, the one that couldn't leave a question unanswered, tore it open. The paper smelled faintly of smoke. A single line ran across the middle: "Leave before your child is born, or you'll disappear like a Lara." Her pulse thudded. She read it again, hoping the words would shift. They didn't. She folded the page twice and set it down. Maybe a prank, maybe superstition, but the handwriting was too deliberate. She grabbed her keys and drove straight to the station. The sheriff barely looked up from his newspaper. "Probably kids," he said after reading it. "My mailbox is nailed shut," she replied. Then it blew there. "People here like their ghost stories. It doesn't feel like a story." He smiled without warmth. "You're new. Everything feels bigger at first." Arguing seemed useless. He was already scribbling on a pad, not listening. When she stepped back into the cold, her hands were stiff on the steering wheel. She drove slowly, not from ice, but from the thought that someone had stood on her porch to leave that envelope. Noah's truck waited by the fence when she returned. He was unloading planks, shoulders dusted white. "Thought I'd drop off what I promised," he called. "Someone left me a letter," she said, voice thin. "What kind of letter?" she told him. His jaw set. "You show it to Lyle, the sheriff." He laughed. "Figures. He's been taking orders from Lyle for years." "What does that mean?" He leaned the planks against the porch. "It means don't expect help from the people running this town." The wind bit through their coats. She folded her arms. "Why threaten me? I haven't done anything." "That's exactly it," he said. "You bought a house they wanted gone." The tone in his voice made her pause. "Who's they?" He didn't answer. "Lock your doors. Keep a light on. I'll stop by tomorrow." Before she could ask more, he was gone, tire tracks fading behind him. She tried to work, fixed a cabinet hinge, scrubbed the floor, washed dishes, but her thoughts circled the letter. Every time she pushed the fear down, it rose again. That night she sat by the lamp, the envelope on the table. The clock ticked past midnight. Branches swayed against the house. She wondered who had written those words, what they thought she knew. A dull thump from the porch snapped her upright. She grabbed the hammer and listened. Scraping followed, slow, persistent. She edged to the kitchen and yanked the door open. Nothing but the yard. A trash can had rolled into the steps. She bent to set it upright and noticed a scrap of paper half buried near the stoop, the same kind as the letter, blank this time. She slipped it into her pocket and went back in, the hammer still in her grip. Noah showed up that afternoon, his coat dusted with frost. "You didn't sleep," he said. "Couldn't." He studied her face. "If you want, I can ask around. Some folks still remember what happened here." "What did happen?" He hesitated. "Nothing people like to say aloud." "That's not an answer." He glanced toward the door. "Silence keeps the peace sometimes, but peace built on silence doesn't last." Evelyn ran her thumb along the envelope's edge. "I just want to know why my name's on it." He didn't reply. Instead, he placed a jar of nails on the table. "Start with the front steps," he said. They creaked too much. The letter stayed on the table for days, corners curled where her fingers had worried them. She couldn't throw it out, though the sight of it made her stomach twist. Every time she passed, her eyes found the uneven writing. She kept herself moving, tightened hinges, patched cracks, swept until her shoulders burned. The steady rhythm left no room for thought. The baby kicked hard, restless, as if reminding her how little time remained. A knock startled her. Not Noah's careful rhythm, sharper. She opened the door to a man in a dark coat holding a clipboard stamped with the town seal. "Mrs. Merrick," he said. "Mayor's office. We received notice of unapproved structural changes." "I'm repairing, not changing," she answered, gripping the knob. "The permit's been suspended pending inspection. Until then, stop all work for your safety." "Safety," she repeated. He gave a small, practiced smile. "Mayor Lyle takes building codes seriously, especially in older homes." She wanted to ask whether he took threats seriously too, but his expression warned her off. "Fine," she said. "Good. Wouldn't want you hurt." He handed her the notice and walked away. She stayed on the porch, the paper trembling in her hand. Lyle's signature at the bottom seemed heavier than ink. When Noah arrived later, she was still at the table staring at the folded notice. "They shut me down," she said. He read it, swore softly. "He's pushing you. Why, he doesn't need a reason. People here usually back off. I'm not breaking any law." "That's not what he cares about," he said. "He's reminding you who owns this place." She pressed her palms together, fighting the urge to rip the paper apart. "I'm not leaving," he sighed. "Then keep your head down till he picks another target. That's your advice. Hide it keeps folks breathing." He left soon after. The unease stayed. The house felt altered, aware of being watched. A dry wind rattled the porch boards. Evelyn went out to nail them down, muttering as she worked. When she stepped back inside, a burnt scent caught her throat. She checked the stove cold. The smell thickened sharper. Her pulse rose. A faint orange glow shimmered in the corner where the painting leaned. Flames crawled along the frame, spreading fast. She grabbed a bucket, doused it once, steam hissed, but the fire clung until a second splash smothered it. Smoke thinned. The floor was blackened. The portrait half-destroyed colors melted into ash. Her knees gave out. She sat on the wet boards staring. The fire had started there, and nowhere else as if chosen. The baby kicked hard, pulling her back. She crawled toward the open frame for air, then stayed where she was shivering. Headlights swept across the yard. Noah burst through the door. "I saw smoke from the road," he said, scanning the room. "You hurt?" She shook her head. "It started on its own." "I swear." He crouched by the burn marks. No fuel traces. Could be bad wiring. It wasn't wiring. Then what? Someone lit it. He studied her face, then the ruined painting. "Tell the sheriff again. I tried once. Try again. Fires aren't jokes." He helped her up, hands steady on her arm. "You can stay at my place tonight." She looked around the wet floor, the wall stained gray. "I'll stay here. I need to know what's left." He didn't argue. "I'll check in tomorrow. Don't keep the stove burning." When he left, she opened every window to clear the smoke. Cold bit her skin but eased her lungs. Beneath the soot, one eye in the portrait remained untouched, calm, almost watching. She wiped the frame and found a folded sheet wedged behind it, a birth record, edges brittle. Ilara Merrick. The name blurred in her vision. She steadied herself against the table, the paper trembling. Merrick, her own. Smoke lingered faintly by dawn. She hadn't slept. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw the scorched floor and that single name printed on brittle paper. She kept folding and unfolding it, tracing the creases, as if the shape could explain something. Ilara Merrick. The shared name lodged in her mind like a pebble, small, impossible to ignore. She dressed, shoved the record into her pocket, and stepped onto the porch. Frost coated the railing. The cold bit her skin. Noah's truck waited by the gate. He climbed out with 2 cups, eyes tired but kind. "You look worse than me," he said, handing her one. "Sleep at all?" "Not really. Fire dreams." "Something like that." She pulled the folded paper from her pocket. "Found this behind the painting?" He read the name and went still. "Merrick." "Yes." "You think she's family? I don't know. But someone wanted her gone. Someone still wants me gone." He rubbed his jaw. "It's not safe here. Whoever started that fire might come back. I can't leave." He didn't push. "Then stay at the shop tonight. There's a spare room in back." She meant to refuse, but exhaustion softened the instinct. Just one night. They spent the day clearing the charred boards, shifting furniture away from the scorch marks. By afternoon, she packed a small bag and locked up. The walk to town took 15 minutes through air that smelled faintly of iron and cold. The shop carried the scent of oil and sawdust. Tools lined the walls in neat rows. Noah's old mutt lifted its head, once then drifted back to sleep beside the heater. "You can stay here," he said, showing her a small room with a cot and a view of the alley. "Not fancy, but warm." "It's fine," she said. "Dinner in an hour. Don't argue." While he cooked, she drifted through the aisle's fingertips, brushing boxes of nails and paint cans, labeled in fading ink. Everything looked carefully arranged, the kind of order that comes from trying to control what life won't fix. She understood that habit. At dinner, Noah spoke. "My mother used to talk about a woman named Ilara. She vanished during the big blizzard of '89. The town searched for weeks, vanished how no one said. Her house burned that winter too. Her stomach tightened. You think the same person? He shook his head. No proof. People here bury what frightens them. They ate in near silence. Later he showed her the locks in the back door that stuck sometimes. When he left, the shop fell still except for the hum of the heater. She sat on the cot, hands on her stomach, listening to the faint scrape of wind against glass. Sleep came in scraps. A metallic sound woke her, a deliberate scrape, not the wind. She froze, listening. The noise came again near the alley. She pulled back the curtain. A figure moved through the snow, paused by the door, then slipped behind the corner. She grabbed her coat and stepped into the hall. "Noah, back here," he called. "Someone's out back." He moved fast. By the time he reached the alley, the shape was gone, leaving only footprints half filled with snow. He scanned the dark. Could have been a raccoon, he said, though. Neither believed it. He followed the prints a few steps, then stopped. They knew where to go. "This door's hidden from the street." She shivered. Maybe they followed us, or never stopped watching. He locked the door twice. "Sleep in the office. It's safer." She didn't argue. When he turned off the lights, she lay on the couch, eyes open to the dark. Every creak made her tense. Somewhere outside, a dog barked once, then nothing. She thought of Ilara, her own face painted in another time, and wondered if that woman had felt the same slow fear pressing at her ribs. At dawn, she woke to Noah, boiling water. He handed her a mug. "You're not going back today." "I have to. My things are there. I'll go with you." They drove without speaking. Trees bent heavy under frost. When the house appeared, her chest tightened. The roof still smoked faintly from the fire. Noah parked by the gate. "Wait here." She didn't. The need to see outweighed caution. Noah crouched, studying them. "Someone's been here." Evelyn brushed the drift aside and caught a glint beneath the ashes, a small metal badge engraved ML. She turned it over in her palm. "Grant Lyle Noah," murmured. The badge felt heavier than metal. She slipped it into her pocket beside the folded birth record, both weights pressing together like proof she hadn't imagined any of it. The initials caught the light, ML, undeniable. The mayor had been on her property. Noah turned the badge, tracing the scraped edge. "Looks new. He must have dropped it recently. Why would he even be here to make sure the fire did its job?" She searched his face for doubt and found none. "You think he tried to burn me out? I think Grant Lyle's done worse." They both stared at the house. Evelyn rubbed her palm over her stomach. The baby kicked once, as if answering a thought she hadn't said aloud. Ash coated the boards near the burned corner, a faint tang of wet smoke still clinging to the room. Noah tested the back door. It hung ajar. "He came through here," he murmured. "Left it open when he ran." Her fingers brushed the frame. "He could have killed me." "Not yet," Noah said. "He wants you scared first." She lowered her hand badge tight in her fist. "Then he's getting what he wants." "Don't let him." She didn't reply. The half-burned painting leaned where she'd left it, one calm eye untouched by flame. She almost envied that stillness. They gathered what remained, tools, blankets, a few photos, and loaded them into the truck. Each sound made her flinch. Locking the door felt pointless, but she needed the act. Back at the shop, she took the small room again. Noah tried to speak of insurance and reports. She barely listened. Her thoughts looped around the badge, the mayor's smile at the meeting, the weight of his name stamped in metal. To keep her hands busy, she sorted through boxes in the back. Old newspapers, bundled and yellowed, filled one crate. Noah appeared as she unfolded a page. "You keep archives now. They came with the place. Mostly late 80s. A headline caught her eye. "Local woman missing amid storm recovery." The name below it froze her, Ilara Merrick, 31. She read the piece aloud. Ilara had last been seen near the town hall, helping distribute supplies after a blizzard. "No foul play suspected. Search suspended due to weather." Noah leaned close. "That's the storm my mother mentioned. She said the town buried more than snow that year." Evelyn folded the paper carefully. If Lyle handled those relief funds, he knew her. Maybe more than knew Noah said. "My mother hinted they were close." Ilara's photo stared up from the page, softer than in the painting, but unmistakably familiar. "He killed her," Evelyn whispered. Noah didn't argue. "Then you need proof." I'll find it. And if it kills you to try, then at least it stops him." Neither spoke. The heater rattled once the room settling. She reached for her mug, found it empty, and set it aside. Later, as they locked the front, Noah said, "You should sleep. I can't. Then talk. About what? Anything but this town." She almost smiled. "You don't like small talk either." Never saw the point. They stood there pretending the stillness was enough. Then he said, "There's a trail behind the store. People used to walk it when they needed to forget. Try it tomorrow." "Maybe." She stopped him at the door. "Why are you helping me?" He looked worn but steady. "Because I've seen what happens when decent people look away." "I won't again." She nodded. He locked the last bolt and left her in the dim shop. She lay on the cot, eyes tracing cracks in the ceiling, listening to the faint hum of the town. Somewhere a dog barked twice, then stopped. She thought of Ilara, of the storm 30 years ago, of the mayor's badge cooling in her pocket. Footsteps woke her, slow, deliberate, moving through the store. Her pulse climbed. She held her breath. The steps stopped by her door. A low voice, "Evelyn, Noah." She exhaled. "What is it?" He stepped in, coat still on. The town hall's lit up. No one's supposed to be there this late. So maybe we see what he's hiding. The idea felt both reckless and certain. She pulled on her coat. "Let's go." They walked through the cold in silence, streets dim and hollow. The town hall glowed faintly ahead, lights spilling across the snow. At the corner, Noah motioned for her to stay back. "If anything happens, you run." She nodded. The baby shifted, a reminder she wasn't alone. Noah slipped toward the side of the building. She waited near the gate. His whisper came from the dark. "He's in there." Her throat tightened. Doing what? Burning something. The scent of burning paper hit her, sharp, chemical, alive. She froze, memory flaring of her own scorched floor. Smoke caught in her throat as she crept toward Noah. The mayor hunched over a barrel, feeding folders into the flames while another man kept watch. Noah's breath misted as he whispered, "Records. He's destroying them." Her voice barely rose. "What kind? Town archives. Maybe hers." The guard turned. Noah pulled her back into shadow. They stayed pressed to the wall until the murmurs faded. When the men stepped farther down the hall, Noah eased the side door open. It gave way with a small groan. The room stung of ash. Embers glowed in the barrel, low and angry. On a table beside it, a stack of untouched folders waited. Evelyn grabbed one and opened it. Birth logs, property deeds, and near the bottom, Ilara Merrick. The edge was singed, but the ink still held. A note clipped to the file read, "Pending audit, Grant Lyle authorized signatory." Noah muttered under his breath. The hall door banged, boots closing in. "Hide," he hissed. They ducked behind a cabinet. Lyle entered, voice sharp. "Everything goes tonight. No trace left. That family caused trouble then, and it's trouble now." The other man coughed. "What about the woman? She'll leave once she sees she's not welcome," Lyle said. "If not, she'll learn the same lesson her aunt did." "Aunt!" The word cut through her. She drew in air too fast, and Noah squeezed her hand. They waited as the men filled a bag with the last files. Lyle lingered by the barrel, watching the glow. "Ashes don't talk," he murmured, then walked out. When their steps died away, Noah locked the door and glanced down the hall. "We can't stay." Evelyn clutched the folder. "He killed her." "We don't know that." "Yes, we do," she said evenly. "And now he's erasing it." The folder felt hot against her coat, as if it still carried the fire's breath. Back at the shop, Noah locked up and poured water into a glass. She spread the pages across the table, some incomplete, others redacted, but everyone carried Lyle's signature stretching back 30 years. Noah leaned over. "Enough to start something." "Not yet," she said. "No one here will believe me." He hesitated. "There's someone at the county office who owes me. I can get copies made. You trust them? I trust no one," he said. "But we need allies." She refolded the papers. "I'll go with you." "No. If he notices they're gone, he'll come here first." Her stomach nodded. "Then I'll wait. Just hurry." He left tires crunching down the road. She sat alone, the heater's hum filling the small space. One sheet lay apart from the rest, a registry showing Ilara Merrick as co-owner of several Birch Lane lots, later transferred to Lyle Construction Co. When Noah returned, his face was pale. "They know," he said. "Someone saw me. We're out of time." "Then we leave." "Not yet. If we run, the truth dies with us. We tell someone outside the county, who state attorney, maybe a reporter, someone who still cares. She wanted to believe him. Instead, she felt the weight of fatigue settle deep. We'll need proof of intent. Noah pulled a small recorder from his pocket. I left this running. He pressed play. Lyle's voice crackled through the static. That family was trouble then, and it's trouble now. Evelyn replayed it twice, the sound colder each time. He knows who I am. Noah nodded. And he's afraid you'll finish what she started. When he said he'd keep watch, she didn't argue. She lay on the cot folder under her pillow recorder beside her hand. Her thoughts drifted between Alara and the child still turning inside her, two unfinished lives she didn't yet know how to save. Before dawn, Noah's voice carried from the front. Headlights, he called softly. Someone's out there. Her pulse jumped. A low engine rumble held steady patient. She didn't look through the glass. She already knew. The motor idled low and patient, as if the driver could wait forever. Noah's tone stayed even. Stay in back. If it's him, we don't open. Evelyn pressed a hand to her stomach. The baby turned under her palm. She crouched near the work table, heartbeat loud enough to count. Tires crunched a car door open. Footsteps crossed the gravel. 3 knocks rattled the glass, measured not urgent. We're closed, Noah called. A pause, then that voice calm, amused. I think you'll want to make an exception for me. Lyle, Evelyn froze. Noah met her eyes, turned the key halfway, and spoke through the gap. It's late, Mayor. Late's when I get things done, Lyle said. Mind if I step in? Heard there was trouble with fire codes again. We're fine. Then maybe I'll check for myself. He pushed the door before Noah could block it. Meltwater spotted his coat. He took a slow glance around the shop. Smells like smoke here, too. Must be catching. Evelyn straightened. What do you want? His gaze lingered. Ah, Mrs. Merrick. Or is it Miss Hard to keep track? Answer me. I came to warn you. People say you're stirring up ghosts. You mean yours, Noah said. Lyle's smile thinned. Careful, son. You'd hate to lose this store over a misunderstanding. Evelyn gripped a chair to steady herself. You were at my house. He lifted a brow. Excuse me. You left something. She placed the badge on the counter. It landed with a dull knock. For a moment, his expression faltered. You've got imagination. Maybe. You also show up right before things burn. He gave a small laugh. Be cautious with claims like that. Folks here respect me. You're just a file that doesn't belong. Noah's fist tightened. She belongs wherever she stands. Lyle turned toward him. You'd risk everything for her, for a woman you barely know. I know enough. The mayor pulled on his gloves. You think this is about property? You've no idea what you're inviting. He started for the door. What did you do to her? Evelyn asked. He stopped. To who, Alara? The pause stretched thin. His reply came almost gently. She was stubborn. Wouldn't listen either. Then he left. The engine caught, faded down the road. Evelyn sank into a chair, hands shaking. He admitted it. Not enough for anyone to care, Noah said. We need more. I'm done waiting. He set the recorder on the counter, still running. We've got part of his voice now. It's a start. Her eyes stayed on the door. He isn't finished. I know. Neither slept. Noah paced. She spread the papers again, reading each scrap like it might give her breath back. Property ledgers, old notes, signatures, until near the bottom, she found a folded letter, brittle and thin, dated February 1990, addressed to the county office. The handwriting matched the warnings she'd received. If anything happens to me, please check the relief fund records for Maple Hollow. He's not what he seems. Signed, E. Merrick. Her hand trembled as she passed it to Noah. She tried to expose him. And he erased her, he said. Now he's trying again. If I can get this to someone beyond here, someone who won't bury it, it ends. Then you have to leave. I can't. He looked at her sharply. Why not? Because that's what he wants. He didn't argue. He cleared the counter instead. Then we make sure he never gets near you again. The next day dragged gray and still. Customers came and went, unaware of what waited beneath the calm. By dusk, Noah returned from the post office. I sent copies, he said. State office should have them tomorrow. Whatever follows, it's not just ours now. Evelyn let out a shaky breath. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. They locked up early. She made tea to steady her hands. Noah sat across from her silent until he said, he'll move before anyone else does. I know. What will you do when he does? Her eyes stayed on the mug. Stop running. She didn't mean courage, just that something in her had already stopped being afraid. Noah checked the latch again. The dog's low growl broke the stillness. What's wrong with him? She asked. Headlights swept across the far end of the street, then vanished. The growl deepened. He's back, Noah murmured. Evelyn's breath caught. Noah's shoulders tightened. Pack what matters most, he said. We may have to go before dawn. She didn't move right away. Her fingers brushed the folded letter from Alara, the paper rasping softly as she slid it into her coat pocket, an inheritance she hadn't asked for, but couldn't refuse. By early light, the street looked calm again, but tire tracks pressed deep by the shop door. Noah stood with arms crossed. He circled twice. Didn't even try to hide it. Evelyn tightened her scarf. The room carried a heavy stillness. Sleep hadn't come. The hum of that engine kept running through her head. He's trying to wear us down, she said. Make us jump before he has to push. It's working, Noah muttered, rubbing his neck before forcing a grin. Just not enough. They gathered what mattered: copies of the letters, the recorder Lyle's signed files. Noah loaded the truck while she checked the folder again. Paper edges curled from her touch. We drive to Brookhaven, he said. State office might take it before he buries it. What if he follows? Then we don't stop. It wasn't much of a plan, but movement felt better than waiting. Clouds thickened as they locked the shop and left the dog behind. The truck rolled through the narrow street houses, still and unaware. 10 miles out, Noah frowned. Car behind us. She turned. A black SUV followed at a perfect distance. He's not hiding. Noah pressed the gas engine, protesting. Frosted branches bent over the road. He won't risk a scene near town, he said. He wants us to feel him there. The SUV held its pace, then peeled off at the crossroads and vanished. Evelyn's breath came out uneven. They drove until the road opened into fields. Another hour if this holds, Noah said. It didn't. Halfway through the county line, the truck jolted, pulling hard right. He eased it over, cursing. Tires done. They stepped out, boots sinking deep. The front tire was slashed clean and deliberate. He knew we'd run, she whispered. Noah knelt to patch it, hands red with cold. Good enough to reach Brookhaven, he said when he finished. They climbed back in, shivering. The truck rattled forward. A sign for the river bridge appeared, a bridge she recognized from the old newspaper. This is where she disappeared, she murmured. Noah nodded. Storm took half of it out that year. Wind pushed against them as they crossed. The planks groaned. For a heartbeat, she saw Alara in the same storm, fighting the same fear. On the other side, she said, he killed her here. Noah's grip on the wheel was answer enough. She leaned back, eyes half closed. If we make it, then what? Hand it over. Don't look back. And if they don't believe us, then we keep talking till someone does. The rhythm of the road steadied her. Then fresh headlights cut through the white. Smaller car faster. Noah's jaw tightened. Hold on. The vehicle closed fast, bumping their rear. Metal scraped. She gripped the dash. Noah, I've got it. The guardrail flashed by the river, visible through gaps. Another shove sent them sideways. He fought the wheel, forced them straight, just as the other car fell back and disappeared into the storm. They drove another mile before slowing. His knuckles were white. He wants us to know we're never out of reach. Her throat burned. Then he already knows where we're headed. They stopped at a roadside diner near the county line, parking in the dim edge of the lot. Warm air met them at the door, unreal after the cold. Evelyn slid into a booth while Noah used the payphone. When he returned, his face told her everything. Line's dead. Must have gone down. So we keep driving, not in this weather. We wait. A waitress set 2 cups on the table, eyes curious but silent. Evelyn held the heat between her palms, watching her own faint reflection in the glass, tired, hollow-eyed, still here. Noah sat across from her. Once this clears, we go straight to Brookhaven. She nodded, gaze fixed on the dark beyond the glass. Snow washed the parking lot to blank white. Only their truck's outline remained, and for a moment a pair of headlights flickered at the far edge, then vanished. Evelyn drew the folder, close fingertips resting on its edge. They sat in the back booth, the folder between them, coffee cooling, a trucker snoring at the counter. She traced the signature. She already knew Grant Lyle's, looping scrawl, smug and permanent. He doesn't just want power, she murmured. He wants ownership. Noah glanced up. He's always had it, the council, the sheriff, half the town. Everyone owes him something. And Alara. She must have threatened him. Maybe she kept records. Maybe she planned to talk. He made sure she couldn't. The words hung between them. Evelyn felt the child turn under her coat, sharp, insistent. She pressed a hand to her stomach. "We're almost done," she whispered. Noah tapped the folder. "Once this reaches the state office, he's finished." The diner door swung open. A man in a sheriff's coat stepped through, frost on his shoulders. His eyes found them at once. "Marek." Noah stiffened. "What are you doing here? Looking for you. Mayor Lyle filed a report, says you stole town property." Evelyn's pulse quickened. "He means the proof he's been stealing for years. That's not how his report reads." The sheriff's hand rested near his holster. "You're both coming with me." Noah rose. "You're not arresting anyone. Then hand over what you took." "You've known about him," Evelyn said. "All this time." He hesitated. "You should leave while you still can. Not without this." Her palm stayed on the folder. "You don't understand who you're dealing with. I do. You're afraid of him. That broke him." He grabbed her wrist. Noah moved first, twisting the man's arm. They struggled, boots scraping tile. The sheriff shouted. The folder fell, papers scattering. The crash woke the trucker, who took one look and slipped out the side door. Noah shoved the sheriff into the counter. The man slumped, groaning. Evelyn gathered the papers, hands shaking. "We have to go." Noah snatched the keys and pulled her toward the door. Cold tore through their clothes as they reached the truck. The tires spun, caught, and they sped off. In the mirror, the sheriff stood in the doorway, one hand pressed to his side, watching them leave. Wind roared around the cab. After a stretch of silence, Noah said, "He'll call Lyle." "I know." "Then we don't stop." She swallowed hard. "He's not winning this time." The road climbed the ridge they'd crossed before. The truck rattled over ice. When the bridge appeared ahead, Noah slowed. The boards shone slick under the sleet. Evelyn's hand tightened on the dash. Halfway across, headlights flared, one car waiting. "It's him," Noah muttered. The SUV blocked the span. Lyle stepped out, coat snapping in the wind, flashlight cutting a thin line of light. "He planned this," she said. "Stay in the truck." He got out. Lyle's voice carried calm as always. "You've made a mess, son. Hand it over and maybe everyone goes home alive." "I don't take orders from thieves." The light caught Noah's face. "You should have stayed out of this," Lyle said. Evelyn clutched the folder. Nowhere to run, the bridge, the drop, the storm closing behind. Lyle drew a gun. Last chance. Noah stood firm. "You buried one, Marek, already." "Not another." A shot cracked through the wind. Evelyn screamed his name, stumbling from the truck. Blood darkened his sleeve, but he didn't fall. He lunged, grabbing Lyle's arm, forcing the weapon down. They grappled near the railing, boots sliding. Evelyn ran toward them and threw the folder. Papers burst into the storm. Lyle's gaze flicked toward them, long enough for Noah to strike. The gun skidded away and vanished into the river. Lyle staggered back, fury twisting his face. "You don't know what you're doing." Evelyn's voice stayed steady. Neither did she. Wind roared through the span headlights, washing over three faces, pale with cold and rage. Lyle backed away, breathing hard. Noah stood beside her, bleeding but upright. "It's over." But Lyle's eyes said otherwise. He turned, ran for the car, and tore off into the storm. Evelyn dropped to her knees beside Noah. He clutched his shoulder. "We need to move," he rasped. She helped him up. The scattered pages fluttered across the bridge, some soaked, some shredded. She gathered what she could, and they started walking, each step slow but sure, the storm folding around them. Noah leaned heavier on her arm, breath uneven. Warm blood spread through his sleeve where her hand held him steady. "Keep moving," he muttered. "I'm not stopping." She tightened her grip, steering him toward the trees. "Your friend's farmhouse, how far, Harper?" 2 miles north." He stopped to catch breath. "If we reach it, we can call for help." They pressed on. Each inhale burned her chest, but she matched her steps to his. Papers rustled under her coat, Alara's words still alive, refusing to vanish like everything else this town buried. When the shape of a barn appeared through the blur, relief caught in her throat. The door gave way with a groan. She eased him down against a beam and peeled back his coat. The bleeding had slowed but ran deep. "You'll need stitches," he tried to grin. Got a steady hand. She tore her scarf and pressed it firm. "Hold this." His fingers brushed hers. "Always this stubborn. Only when someone shoots at me." He managed a half smile before pain dulled it. "He'll come back." "I know," she said, knotting the cloth tighter, "but he doesn't have the papers." "He doesn't need them," Noah said. "He just needs silence. Then we'll make noise." Wind hammered the walls. She found a blanket on a hay bale and wrapped it around him. The cold still bit through, but it was shelter. "You remind me of her," he said after a while. "Ilara. People said she had the same fire. Fire didn't save her." "No," he said, "but maybe it left something behind." Evelyn didn't answer. Her hands trembled. "If anything happens to me?" The line from Ilara's letter looped through her mind, less warning now, more unfinished promise. Hours passed before the storm eased. The stillness that followed felt wrong. She stood and brushed off her coat. "I'll check the road." He tried to stop her, but she was already moving. The air was heavy, the fields washed pale. A lantern swung near a farmhouse up the slope. Relief came and vanished when she noticed tire tracks curling into the drive. She turned back just as a car door slammed. Her pulse leapt. She slipped into the barn and pressed against the wall. Noah read her face and said nothing. Footsteps approached. The door creaked open, a voice too calm to mistake. "You've caused me a great deal of trouble, Mrs. Merrick." Her throat went dry. She reached for a broken shovel handle. Noah shifted, grimacing. Lyle stepped into view, face almost serene. "I admired your aunt. Courage like hers is rare. Shame she couldn't keep quiet." "You killed her." He tilted his head. "You make it sound personal." "It wasn't. It was necessary," Noah rasped. "You call murder necessary, I call it survival." His gaze slid to Evelyn's stomach. "And you, same name, same curse. Some people never learn." Something hardened in her chest. She gripped the shovel. "You think you own everything you touch, this town, this family, but you don't." Lyle's smile barely moved. "You don't get to tell me what I own." He reached inside his coat. Noah lunged, catching his arm. They crashed against the stall. Evelyn swung. The shovel struck his shoulder, then his jaw. He stumbled, the gun spinning across the floor. She reached it first. Her hands shook, but she raised it. "Stay back." Lyle straightened, blood on his lip. "You won't shoot." She didn't answer. "You're just like her," he said. She thought truth could save her too. Her finger tightened. "No," she whispered. She thought someone else would. The click came before she realized. The shot cracked through the barn. Lyle's expression froze, then emptied as he fell into the hay. She stood motionless, the smell of powder mingling with straw. "Evelyn," Noah said weakly. She lowered the gun. "He's not getting up." Noah's breath came rough. "Then it's done." She didn't believe him. The weight in her hands felt heavier than metal. She knelt beside him, pressing the scarf tighter over the wound. Wind slipped through the gaps, scattering pale flakes across the floor until the dark stains disappeared. "We need to go," she said. He caught her hand. "You lead." She helped him up. Together they stepped out into the cold, leaving behind blood smoke and the stillness that always follows a fight. They walked until the light began to thin. Mist clung low across the fields. Evelyn's hands burned from the chill, but she kept checking that Noah was still beside her. His pace slowed, jaw locked, refusing to show pain. At the road's edge, a rusted mailbox leaned against a fence Harper carved into the wood beneath a skin of frost. Evelyn exhaled hard. "You were right." Noah gave a tired half smile. For once. The farmhouse sat a short walk up the hill. Smoke curled from the chimney, someone awake. Evelyn knocked hard until an older man opened the door, gray-haired, sharp-eyed. "Noah," he said, surprise roughening his voice. "Need a favor?" Noah managed unsteady. Harper stepped aside. "You look like hell." "Feels about right," Evelyn muttered. Warmth hit as they crossed the threshold, making her dizzy. Harper guided Noah to a couch, fetched a first aid kit, and returned with antiseptic. "Tell me who did this," Lyle, Noah said. "It's done." Harper's gaze shifted to Evelyn. "Done how she met it evenly. He won't hurt anyone again." He held her stare, then nodded. No judgment, only understanding. He cleaned Noah's wound with careful hands. Evelyn stood nearby, her thoughts looping through fragments she didn't want to keep: the flash, the recoil, the stillness after. When Harper finished, Noah sagged back, color drained, but steady. "You'll need rest," Harper said. "Both of you." "We can't stay long," Evelyn said. "Stay until the storm clears." "No one comes up this road unless they mean to." Noah's hand brushed hers. "We're safe here," he said, though the tremor in his voice betrayed doubt. While he slept, she paced the kitchen. Safety felt like another story people told themselves to keep breathing. The folder lay open on the table, papers curled from damp and blood. Ilara's letter sat on top. "If anything happens to me, please look into the relief fund records." Evelyn read it again, tracing the faded ink. The writing looked both careful and desperate, as if Ilara had known someone would need it later. "You kept it alive long enough for me to find it," she whispered. Harper entered, pouring 2 mugs. "You'll want this," he said. "You look half frozen." She took it, warmth steadying her hands. "You knew her, didn't you?" He paused. "Everyone did. She ran relief work during the storm, trusted Lyle. That's how he got close. He used her." Harper nodded. "When she found out what he'd done with those funds, she tried to stop him. The town chose not to see. Easier that way." Evelyn swallowed. "He almost did it again." "Almost," Harper said simply. "But not this time." The words offered no comfort, only fact. She checked on Noah. He stirred at her touch. "Still breathing." "For now," she murmured. "Good enough." By midday, the storm had eased. A strip of blue cut through the gray. Evelyn sat by the glass, watching the thaw begin. The world looked ordinary again, too ordinary. Harper and Noah spoke low in the next room, voices mingling with the hum of the heater. When Harper stepped out to check the barn, Noah called, "We need to decide what's next." She joined him. "You mean where we go, Brookhaven? If we get there before the story twists, you think anyone will believe us? They'll have to." "We've got proof." Evelyn studied the papers. "And if they don't, then we keep talking till someone does." His calm steadied her. She folded the documents into a dry envelope Harper had found. He thought burning it would erase everything she said. But it's all still here. Noah's smile was tired but sure. "You've got that same stubborn streak she had." "Maybe that's what she left me," Evelyn said. "The only thing worth inheriting." Evening stretched slow. Harper served bread and soup, the small sounds of spoons and breath filling the space. Noah drifted off again on the couch, one arm over his eyes. Evelyn cleared the dishes, wiped the counter, anything to keep her hands moving. When she stopped, her reflection met her in the dark glass, drawn but steady. The child stirred. She pressed her palm over the movement. "We're almost there," she whispered. Water trickled along the road. She thought of what waited ahead: reports, hearings, questions, but none of it frightened her anymore. What frightened her once was silence, and she'd already broken that. From the next room, Noah mumbled in his sleep. She didn't catch the words, but it made her smile. The house creaked. The wind eased. For the first time in weeks, the sound didn't make her flinch. Evelyn poured another cup, sat again, and unfolded Ilara's letter. She didn't read for answers now, but for the voice in it, a woman who refused to vanish. They left before dawn. Roads were slick, but open, a single plow lane cutting toward town. Noah drove shoulder bound tight. Evelyn held the folder close. They didn't speak. The hum of tires and crack of ice filled the space. They reached the courthouse just after opening, a plain brick square with worn windows and a flag hanging limp. Noah parked near the steps. "You ready?" She nodded. "No more running." The clerk eyed them the way small-town clerks do, half polite, half wary. Evelyn asked to see the district attorney. When pressed, she said only, "Evidence of fraud and a death that wasn't what they said." It got them sent upstairs. The DA's office smelled of stale coffee. Robert Kendall's sleeves rolled up, tie crooked, waved them in. Younger than she expected. "You've got 5 minutes before my next meeting," he said. "Start talking." Evelyn set the folder on his desk. "It's about Mayor Grant Lyle." That caught him. "Go on." Noah summarized the stolen funds and Ilara's disappearance. Evelyn filled in the rest: records, threats, fire, her voice steady, though her throat ached. When she finished, Kendall leaned back, scanning the papers. "These look real." "They are. And the mayor, he's gone," Noah said. "Maybe dead." Kendall frowned. If this checks out, it's not just local, it's federal. He flipped through again, shaking his head. Why come now? No one would have believed me before. He met her eyes, something easing in his face. You're here now. Give me today. I'll start a team. Relief hit sharp and strange. On the courthouse steps, Evelyn let herself breathe. Exhaust and wet pavement mixed in the cold. Noah joined her. Think he'll follow through? He's the first one who didn't tell me to shut up. That's a start. They stopped at a diner off the highway, burnt toast eggs and weak coffee that still felt like mercy. She rewrapped Noah's bandage in the restroom using napkins. He winced but didn't complain. At the table, she stirred the cup absently. You ever think it'd end like this? You mean alive, he asked. She almost laughed. That'll do. Endings are just pauses, he said. You rebuild, you move on. Outside, a few kids passed, laughing, their boots squeaking on wet concrete. Evelyn watched them, struck by how ordinary the world could stay while everything else broke. When they finished, Noah paid. She left a few dollars for the waitress, a habit she couldn't shake. Her phone buzzed. Kendall. We verified part of it, he said. There's more buried under shell accounts. We're filing charges today. Her hand shook. What happens now? Now we clean up the mess. She hung up. They're going after him. Told you it mattered, Noah said. They drove back toward Harper's in easy silence. The clouds thinned to blue. Evelyn rested her head, the baby's small flutter, steady against her palm. You'll be fine, Noah murmured. Maybe, she said. Feels possible. At the farmhouse, Harper was splitting wood. He waved, heard it on the radio. Biggest corruption case this county's seen. That's one way to remember him, she said. Better than the way he wanted. Noah dropped onto the couch. You should rest too. In a minute, she drew back the curtain. Fields stretched pale and open. A bird perched on the rail, shaking water from its wings. She watched it heartbeat, matching the faint flutter beneath her ribs. She didn't think of Lyle or the fire anymore. Her thoughts moved ahead, forms to file calls to make a life waiting to be rebuilt. Noah spoke without opening his eyes. You did what she couldn't. Evelyn turned. No, she made sure I could. He drifted to sleep. She tucked the blanket higher, then sat beside the stove, letting the heat work its way through her bones. A bird lifted toward the tree-lined wings, cutting the still air. Evelyn followed it until it disappeared, then leaned back, breath, slow warmth rising from the fire. The trial came 3 months later, spring turning the fields to mud. Evelyn still woke before dawn, unable to shake the old habit of vigilance. Her small rented house sat on Brookhaven's edge among bare maples and wind chimes that never stopped moving. She dressed without rush. The woman in the mirror looked steadier, shaped by what she carried. She packed her documents, stepped into the chill, and walked toward town. The rhythm of her steps steadied her more than prayer. Reporters waited on the courthouse steps, questions blurring together. Are you the one who exposed the mayor? Did you find the records in your aunt's house? She kept her head down and moved past them. The hallway smelled of dust and varnish. She took a seat in the back row, hands folded. Noah joined soon after, careful with his still healing shoulder. He smiled. You holding up, I'm here. The hearing moved fast. Kendall laid out the proof funds meant for rebuilding, siphoned into private accounts, falsified reports, signatures, photos. When Lyle's name surfaced, a hush followed. His absence filled the room more than his presence ever had. Some whispered he was alive, others about the bridge and the storm. Evelyn stayed still, calm, but waited. Justice felt less like triumph, more like completion. During recess, Noah handed her a paper cup. Eat something, he said. I'm fine. You're shaking. Just nerves. She took a sip. Think they'll call me? They will. You're why this is here. The thought settled heavy. When her name came, she rose and spoke. She told them about the house, the fire, the threats. About Ilara, not as a story, but as someone who tried to make things right. When she finished, no one moved. The judge nodded, dismissed her. She walked back to her seat, feeling every step. By midday, light had softened. She sat on the courthouse steps, breathing in the faint trace of thaw. Noah brought 2 sandwiches from a street cart. You know, he said, I think she'd be proud. Ilara, he nodded. You finished what she started. Maybe not finished, Evelyn said. Just kept it alive long enough for someone to care. He smiled. Maybe that's all justice ever is. The verdict came the next day. The council's last members were convicted of fraud and obstruction, the relief funds restored. Kendall shook her hand. You did more good here than anyone in years. She only nodded. Praise never sat easily. She left alone, ignoring the reporters. The day had warmed. Thawed soil carried a faint sweetness. Weeks passed. The town shifted. People who once looked away now nodded in greeting. The diner reopened. The mural downtown, once faded, was painted anew, people planting trees by a river. Evelyn passed it each day on her way to the records office, where she'd started work. It wasn't planned, but it fit. Sometimes when the office stilled, her hand drifted over the files. She kept one framed page in her drawer, Alara's handwriting. She never read it anymore. Knowing it survived was enough. Noah visited often. His arm remained stiff, but his energy returned. He worked roofs again, sunburned and content. They shared meals, speaking less of the past and more of what might come. One evening, drying dishes, she heard him from the doorway. You ever think of leaving? I did, she said. But the baby's due soon. Feels wrong to go before I finish here. He nodded toward the small garden. You're building again. Maybe. Or maybe I've just stopped running. That night, sleep came easy. She dreamed of calm water, a lake at dusk. Alara stood on the far shore, waved once, then walked away. When Evelyn woke, no panic, rose only stillness. She brewed tea, stepped onto the porch. The ground smelled of wet soil and new grass. Across the street, someone painted their porch rails white. Life had found its rhythm again. Evelyn sat on the steps, hands resting on her stomach, feeling the steady kick beneath her palms. She no longer thought of loss. She listened to laughter, a dog barking, wind through trees, and breathed without fear. The courthouse looked smaller on the day of the final ruling. Flags hung limp, voices hummed low along the street. People who once crossed the road to avoid her now met her eyes, unsure whether to offer thanks or apology. She passed without pause. Benches were full. Whispers stopped as the judge entered. Names came, councilmen, business owners, the treasurer who'd signed away half the town. No ceremony. Guilty of fraud, obstruction, conspiracy. Fines. Prison. Resignations. Evelyn listened, but her thoughts drifted to the faces around her neighbors. Clerks, people she'd passed in grocery aisles. Ordinary until they weren't. When the judge finished the shuffle of papers, replaced applause. No one cheered. It wasn't that kind of victory. Kendall approached, tie askew, eyes tired. You'll hear from the press, he said. Best let the report speak for itself. I'm not giving interviews. Good. A faint smile. You've said enough for one lifetime. Noah waited by the door. How's it feel? Like breathing after holding it too long. He handed her a folded paper. Gazette printed this. Thought you'd want to see. Former mayor implicated in corruption scheme. Whistleblower's evidence confirms years of misconduct. Beneath it, a photo of her leaving the courthouse captioned, "The woman who refused to stay quiet." She folded it before finishing the article. Does it bother you? I wish they'd printed her name instead of mine, she said. Alara started this. They'll remember both of you, he said. Maybe that's enough. They left together, slow on the steps. A few hands reached out to shake hers. She thanked them, unsure what else fit. The world liked turning witnesses into symbols before asking if they wanted the part. By the time they reached Harper's truck, the day smelled faintly of rain. They drove in silence while the radio murmured about other towns and other wrongs waiting to be fixed. Halfway down Main, they passed the mural. New flowers covered the bottom, bright yellow-blue. A line of kids took pictures in front of it, laughing, their backpacks slung over one shoulder. You think it's over? Noah asked. For this town, maybe. Not for everyone. Then we start where we are. At the post office, she mailed copies of the documents to a federal office in Chicago. Kendall said it wasn't needed anymore, but she wanted a record beyond this county, a safeguard against forgetting. The clerk weighed the envelope. Anything fragile, just something that took too long to see daylight. Back in the truck, Noah asked, You trust the system now? Not really, I just trust paper more than people. He chuckled. Fair enough. Rain started as they neared the field's wipers, keeping time. Pale chutes pushed through mud. Evelyn's hand rested on her stomach, feeling a small stir. You should rest, Noah said. No more chasing ghosts. Maybe I'll plant something. Something that grows without secrets. He smiled. You sound like Harper. Living near him does that to people. They pulled up to the farmhouse as the rain eased to drizzle. Harper stood on the porch with a mug watching clouds move east. Heard it's official, he called. It's done, Evelyn said. They're all convicted. About time. You hungry? I made stew. Always. The house smelled of thyme and wood smoke. They set the table. Noah fetched bowls. They ate in comfortable silence. Afterward, Harper poured tea. Folks want to start a fund in Alara's name, he said. Scholarships. Something decent out of the wreckage. She'd like that. She'd like that it's yours. It isn't, Evelyn said softly. It just found me. When the dishes were done, Noah checked the barn. Harper went to lock the gate. Evelyn stayed at the table, tracing her cup's rim. The rain had stopped. Frogs croaked near the pond. She unlatched the window. The weight she'd carried for months had finally gone still. There would be letters, hearings, bad dreams, but they no longer owned her. Noah came back, wiping his hands. Fence is holding. Harper patched it. You sound settled, she said. Maybe I am. He glanced around at the scattered cups and tools. This place feels more alive with you here. She poured the last of her tea into the sink. Then maybe we'll keep it that way. Clouds broke, revealing a pale glow over the fields. She stepped onto the porch, shawl drawn close. The ground smelled of pine and wet soil. Somewhere down the road, dogs barked in rhythm, life moving as it should. Noah leaned on the rail. You think she'd be proud? Not proud, Evelyn said. Relieved. They stood together, listening to wind through the grass, the world reshaping itself in small, patient ways. When they went back in their steps, blended with the soft rustle of the night. By summer, grass behind the barn had grown tall, hiding the uneven ground. The fence leaned, the porch paint chipped again, but no one minded. Life had settled steady, full of small sounds that belonged to living things. Evelyn spent her mornings in the garden. The soil stayed dark and pliant after weeks of rain. She worked barefoot, planting herbs and beans, pausing when the baby kicked, a quiet reminder to rest. She'd smile, touch her stomach, whisper, "All right, I hear you." Noah came most afternoons, his truck rattling down the gravel road. He and Harper were rebuilding the shed, though nothing ever got finished. The days stretched easy, marked by half-cut planks and empty cups on the porch. He brought a box of nails and a jar of lemonade. You've got more weeds than vegetables, he said. Maybe I like them better. They grow no matter what happens. You always find the lesson. Someone has to, she said, digging deeper. Otherwise, it all feels wasted. Harper came out with a newspaper under his arm. Council's rebuilding the community center. First thing they've agreed on in years. Who's leading it, Kendall, till they vote? He wants to name a room after your aunt. They don't need to. No, Harper said, but they want to. Evelyn hesitated. Gratitude came hard when it followed loss. If they do make it the library, she liked books more than people. Harper chuckled and let the screen door bang behind him. Noah sat on the porch step, watching her cover the last row of soil. Got plans after the baby, I might reopen the bakery. The owner retired. Maybe something small, pies, bread. You'd be good at it. It's not about being good, just about making something that doesn't hurt anyone. They worked in companionable silence. Damp earth carried a faint sweetness. A dog barked somewhere beyond the trees. Evelyn brushed her palms clean. You ever miss what the rush, when everything was too fast, like living inside a storm? He thought a moment. Sometimes, but only because it makes the calm mean something. She nodded. That's what I keep telling myself. Later, as the sun sank, she went in to make dinner. Harper was already setting the table, humming some old tune. Noah joined in off-key but cheerful. She laughed from the kitchen, shaking her head. The stew simmered while she sliced bread. She measured time now by small things, the smell of cooking, the creak of a door, the way light shifted across the floor. After they ate, Harper poured tea while Noah cleared the dishes. They rarely mentioned the past anymore. The names, the trials, the long nights had softened into something distant. Still, Evelyn sometimes caught an exchanged glance between them, a wordless understanding. When dusk fell, she stepped onto the porch. Clover scented the yard. Fireflies blinked lazily over the garden beds, weaving through stalks of beans and mint. Noah joined her. Town feels different, he said. Lighter. It'll stay that way a while, she replied. At least until people forget. They'll remember enough. I used to think remembering was everything she said, but it's what comes after that matters. He turned to her. And what comes after for you? Keep going, she said. Build something that lasts longer than the noise. Harper called from the kitchen about the dishes. Noah laughed and went in his steps heavy on the boards. Evelyn stayed a moment longer listening to the night settle. The baby shifted beneath her hand. She murmured something soft, half promise, half gratitude. The porch light flickered, catching in her hair, but she didn't move. Fireflies drifted across the yard like slow breathing, their rhythm steady, patient, almost human. Then she went in, leaving the door ajar so the cool air could follow. The kettle began to whistle. She reached for it, her movements sure as if this quiet rhythm of ordinary things had been waiting for her all along.